My stepdaughter wants her real dad to give her away. Plus updates. Original post. My stepdaughter will be getting married on August 3rd. The wedding planning has consumed most of her mother's life for the past 6 months. I say her mother because we aren't married, though we've lived together for 10 years. My stepdaughter graduated last December from university. I paid for her to go to college. Though it was a state school, it still ran $40,000. She does not have a job and has been living with us for the duration of her college career and since her graduation. I also bought her a car to get back and forth from school when she finished high school. From time to time, her deadbeat father would pop into her life and she would fawn all over him. Although he has not contributed a cent to her education or paid any child support, she still loves him and wants him in her life, though that is my girlfriend's fault as child support was not part of the settlement. He stays long enough to break her heart by skipping town and breaking some promise that he made her. So, the wedding venue holds 250 people max. I gave them a list of 20 people that I want invited, since I was paying for everything. They told me that was no problem and they'd take care of it. So, I let these people know they'd be getting an invite and they should save the date. This Saturday, I saw one of my friends on this list at a golf course and asked if he was coming. He told me that he wasn't invited. He told me that he got an announcement but not an invitation. He had it in his backseat, along with probably 6 months of mail and showed it to me. Sure enough, it was just an announcement. And my name was nowhere on it. It had her dad's name and her mom's name, and not mine. This led to a pretty big fight with my girlfriend, as I found out that none of my list of 20 made a cut for the final guest list, because 250 people is very tight. I was angry, but not a hell of a lot I could do, because the important people in my life had already been offended. My girlfriend said if some people didn't RSVP yes, I might be able to get a couple people in. But that is an ultimate slap in the face in my opinion. So, I was boiling on Saturday. Yesterday, we had a Sunday dinner with the future in-laws family and us, and a surprise guest, the real dad. At this little dinner, my stepdaughter announced that her real dad was going to be able to make it to her wedding, and that now he'd be able to give her away. This was greeted with a chorus of, "Oh, how great," and "how wonderfuls." I don't think I ever felt so angry and so disrespected. I was shaking. I took a few seconds to gather my composure, because I honestly wasn't sure if I would cry or start throwing punches or both. Once I was sure I'd be able to speak, I got up from my chair and said I'd like to make a toast. I can't remember exactly what I said, but the gist of it was this: I'd like to make a toast. The sound of spoons against glasses ring in my ears. It has been my great pleasure to be part of this family for the past 10 years. Aw, how sweet. At this point in my life, I feel I owe a debt of gratitude to bride and groom, because they have opened my eyes to something very important. Confident smiles exchanged. They have showed me that my position in this family is not what I once thought it was. And now a glimmer of confusion and shock begins to spread on the faces in the room. Though I once thought of myself as the patriarch or godfather of the family, commanding great respect and sought out for help in times of need, it seems instead that I hold the position of an ATM. Good for a stream of money, but not much else. As I have been replaced as host, both on the invitations and in the ceremony, I am resigning my financial duties as host to my successor, a real dad. So cheers to the happy couple and the path they have chosen. I finished my drink and said, "You all can let yourselves out." Is this selfish? Am I supposed to shell out 40 to 50 grand for a wedding that I can't invite anyone to? That I'm not a part of? I'm so done with this crap. I'm done with my stepdaughter. I'm done with my girlfriend. I transferred the money out of our joint account last night. She has not had a job since she moved in with me. This morning, I called all the vendors I had written checks to for deposits to refund my money. At present, it looks like I'll lose around $1,500 for the venue, but the other vendors have been great about refunding. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Sir, I respect the stance you have taken and find it disgusting that you would be treated this way after 10 years. The best of luck to you. Ah, catharsis. Seriously, OP, come back in a week and let us know. I swelled with pride listening to how you stood up for yourself. Finally, a good word spoken. Never let others determine your value. I applaud you. This, after 10 years of some sentimental security, if we can call it that, and investment, It takes a great deal of courage for a man to stand his ground and clearly, not passive-aggressively, refuse to take any part of it. It would be totally understandable if they had given even just a small consideration to your wishes. But to leeches like these? Just shake them off your back, man. I would have been even angrier. You paid for her college. You were going to pay for her wedding. And they couldn't even do the bare minimum of inviting your 20 people? That is just pure disrespect towards you. I would get out of that toxic environment right away. I can't believe the mother would do this and allow it. As a woman who got dealt a deadbeat addict horrible piece of crap from my son's father, I'm amazed. I found a great guy who has been there for us. If my son acted like this, I would put him in his place. Real dad or not, this guy has been there day in and out. She could have even opted for both of them to walk her down the aisle. The worst part is, here is this man who grew to love her as his own. So much so that he wanted to invite people he loved to share in celebrating her love, and she basically said, screw that. Didn't even tell him, just hid it behind his back. You handled that beautifully. I'm a young woman with both a real dad and stepdad in my life that I love very much. I've often wondered which would walk me down the aisle. My two dads hate each other, so I worry about offending the other. Would you have felt better if she asked the both of you to walk her down the aisle? As in one dad on each arm? Your situation is probably different than ours. If real dad has contributed time and money to raising you throughout your life, has shared in alleviating the anguish that is bringing up a teenage girl rather than contributing to it, then you should be fine. Ask them both to meet you. Ask them both to do it as a favor to you. No man could refuse that. Very true. Sometimes you have to put your differences aside for the sake of someone else's happiness. My sister and I have a very similar situation. Our real dad has never paid for a single thing and has hardly been in our lives at all. He was and is an alcoholic, and my mom chose to take him out of our lives when I was 2 and my sister was 5, and then she married another man when I was 6. Our last names were switched to his last name, and when my mom and stepdad got divorced when I was 12, he paid child support for us until 18. We've been calling him dad since I was 5, and consider him our dad, even though since I was 13 we started seeing our real father a couple times a year. We call them both dad. To clarify to each other which dad we are talking about, we say dad 1 or dad 2. Anyways, I would 100% get my stepdad to walk me down the aisle, even though I know this would hurt my biological dad. My stepdad is the one who has taken care of me, and is the one who deserves to give me away. My sister, on the other hand, would get my biological dad to give her away, I believe. Maybe even get them both to give her away like Opie suggested. But I think you have every right to be angry as they're unappreciative and taking advantage of you. Your stepdaughter sounds like a spoiled brat who has kept her biological dad on a pedestal no matter how lame of a father he has been. And your girlfriend is ridiculous. If I try that crap, my mom would lose it on me for being so ungrateful. And they're not just being ungrateful for financial stability, it's the stability of the family. And father, that's important too. You did the right thing withdrawing your financial help to this wedding. If these two women are really the selfish. Now for the first update. The immediate aftermath was tantrum and people sitting there mumbling while not actually saying anything to me, but to each other. After much yelling with a girlfriend about me being selfish, I spent the night in my home office and no one knocked on my door. Not once. Today's aftermath is kind of depressing for me. Girlfriend brought me the bride's wedding planner to show me how much work I was ruining. I thumbed through it and found a page in the music section for father-daughter dances. All of the songs were catered to real dad's taste. So I thought they were just being disrespectful, but now I'm feeling like they never really gave a crap at all, especially since the menu included 2 ingredients I'm allergic to. That actually made me laugh. Either way, I'm glad to be done. Return the planner and ask her when she and bride could move out. Also, I never promised to pay for the wedding. I offered them the use of my home when they were sure it was going to be small, but other than that, all I've heard is how it's the bride's family that should pay. So, let it be the bride's family then, aka not me. Final update a week later. Girlfriend and bride are now moved out. They're moving in with the groom. It was very hard not to be petty with some of the belongings they took with them, but it's done. And I switched out the locks and now it's time for a brew. I can't believe how popular the story got, but I feel good to be given support by so many. If I find out what happens with the wedding, I'll let you know, but I can't guarantee that I will put in the effort to find out. From what I've heard, they're trying to scale things back and get his parents to help out. Girlfriend burned bridges when I found out she tried to write herself a check on our joint account the day after the unpleasantness. By then I had already moved money, so I guess I'm a bigger jerk than her. But I could feel it coming. That's all. Thanks. Sometimes you're having a kind of murky day with less than fun thoughts. Then you read something like this and just kinda appreciate that your problems are nowhere near as absurd as this guy's. Reddit has made me feel better about my late mother-in-law. She sucked, but at least she wasn't bad crap crazy. My mother-in-law and I have a good functional relationship, but I suppose if we weren't related, we wouldn't seek out each other's company. Our personalities don't complement each other, and there have been times where it's felt a bit strained or awkward. But my goodness me, she's such a wonderful person. She's generous, steps in to help whenever she can, keeps her head in a crisis, and can basically handle anything. Reddit has made me realize that the people worth keeping close are the good people, not the people you click with. I used to make jokes about having a typically awkward relationship with my mother-in-law, but not now. I bet the parents of the groom are on his case to not marry into such a messy and toxic family. This was my thought too. How is groom's family reacting? Like, do they want him to bail, or were they in on the fleecing? I'd say at least two options. Either they're trying to tell groom to bail and refusing to add money to the wedding, or they're cursing OP along with ex-girlfriend and bride, then trying to mooch off someone else. There was a post like this where the biological dad paid for the wedding, and then the daughter said that she wanted the stepdad, the guy the mother cheated on bio dad with, to walk her down the aisle, and then the bio dad cut the daughter off and didn't even speak to her even when he was dying, saying his last words. It was her mom's idea too, and then she wouldn't listen when literally everyone, aside from mom and stepdad, told her what a horrible idea that would be, and she should let bio dad do it. I still think mom secretly wanted a final F you, to deny him the one singular honor he'd been looking forward to for 24 years. She got that, and then apparently just watched as her daughter tore herself to pieces, with regret over the irreparable damage that had been done. Last story. How to tell my female 35, family and friends that my partner male 42 doesn't owe them anything just because he's rich. My partner, not married, is generally considered rich. He's a good person, with a good career and is a good caretaker. He loves and helps his family any way he can. He's a good father, even a good ex-husband to his ex-wife. We met when he was going through some dark times. I helped him get through many things and overcome some dark behaviors. For this reason, he feels thankful to me. So he spoils me, not only with love but with things too. For instance, I had a really bad accident. So he bought me a 6-figure car, which I didn't ask for, but he did it anyway. He takes me on trips 3 times a year, one with his family, one with friends, and one just the two of us. He spends money on cars, technology, and travels. But that's about it. We don't go to fancy places. We don't buy expensive jewelry or wear designer clothes. This is where my problem starts. My mom suddenly stopped working and asked me to pay for her car while she looked for a job. This was 2 years ago. She stopped working and I'm stuck with her car note. My siblings expect me to pay for their kids' parties because I can afford it because my partner is rich. My friend and I went to a concert and I paid for the tickets, and she was supposed to Venmo me for a ticket. But she didn't because I don't need the money. During a house party, some friends asked me to buy the good liquor just because I can, and got upset when I didn't. Siblings expect me to pay when we go out to eat. I don't even offer to pay. They tell me what they want for Christmas, things that I don't even have, like an LV bag. And the things I need to buy for my nieces and nephews for Christmas? Expensive things. How can I tell everyone to just stop expecting me to use my partner's money to buy them stuff? As I said before, we're actually very frugal when it comes to everything else. Tell them point blank, and stop spending time with people who take advantage of you. It's going to be an uphill battle, since you've let them treat you like this. If someone asks you for a bag, either ignore them or ask them point blank why they're asking for a bag, or ask them for something at a similar price point. You're almost certainly going to lose friends over this. If they ask for an LV bag, buy them a knockoff. Your family and friends have a lot of nerve putting expectations on you when you're not even married to your partner. But we teach people how to treat us. It sounds like your partner is a kind and generous man. Would this be easier for you if you remind yourself that you're not being kind to him by removing his ability to decide how to spend his money? Realistically, it's going to be hard to draw these boundaries at first. You may want to enlist your partner to back you up. Not to blame you for not letting you spend the money, which would be unfair to him, but to say things like, "We've been trying to keep to a budget for gifts," or "We've been examining our financial priorities, and we're cutting back on dining out." Just consistent messaging. The phrase, "Sorry, it's not in the budget," may be your friend. It doesn't imply that you don't have the money, just that you've chosen to allocate your funds in other ways. I would do a combination of things. 1. Set boundaries and expectations for things like gifts up front. What would the kids like for Christmas? I'm budgeting X dollar per child and Y dollar for dolls this year. If you're going out to meal with your siblings, don't agree to go to expensive places and ask for separate checks up front or ask your sibling to pay and send them the money. Don't agree to pay for things like parties. There will probably be an extinction burst where they ask you for even more stuff to see what they can get you to take on, but if you hold firm, they will eventually stop asking. 2. For your mom and her car payment. Well, depending on your relationship with her and her ability to work, you may either be stuck paying off the car and then never agreeing to take on an expense like that again, or having a frank conversation with her about what her plans are for resuming work and taking the payment over again. It sounds like your mom has decided that you're her retirement plan, so you may also need to do some thinking about how you're going to manage that. If you want, you can redirect the money for expensive gifts and stuff into educational funds for the kids in your family, so that you're still using your resources to benefit the family, but you're not setting expectations for material goods. And let's face it, they're going to come to you when it's time for college anyway. Might as well get ahead of it. Thank you for your comment. You have great ideas. I'm going to start telling them I have a budget for everything. Christmas, birthdays, etc. You're right. My mom thinks I'm her retirement fund. She's always mentioned it since I was little. She would say things like, I need to save money to buy her house when she's old. But now, she's using me to pay for a car. The car is in my name because she doesn't have good credit, so I guess I'm stuck with it unless she finds a job. But that's the last time I use my credit to help her buy anything.
Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to recover at home after surgery? Original post. I, 29 female, am really disappointed with my husband, 30 male, and furious at his mother, hag-aged female. For context, my husband is from the West Coast, where his mother still lives. He moved to the East Coast for college, and that's where we met, after graduation. In the start of our relationship, she would visit 3 to 4 times a year and make him take PTO so he could entertain her throughout her visit. After 2 years of this, while we were still dating, I asked him how we were ever meant to go on a vacation together if his PTO was spent at home with his visiting mother. We agreed to save PTO for a trip to Europe we took in 2023, and he agreed to tell his mother he couldn't take off from work every time she visited. In my last job, I was able to work from home 4 days a week, and every time she visited, she sulked all day like a puppy who's had her toys taken away. But once my husband came home, a switch flicked and she was happy and clingy again. So here's the issue now. My husband and I moved states about 6 months ago, closer to my family. I have a new doctor who recommended me for a surgery that my old doc kept putting off. It's not a complicated procedure, and it will greatly increase my quality of life for decades. My mother-in-law decided she's due for a visit and wants to explore our new town, and should come to help around the house while OP recovers. I'm going to be out of surgery and in pain, and I really don't want to put up with her energy. However, we agreed, with my husband saying this isn't a sightseeing visit, she's here to help out, cook, clean, laundry, etc., so I can rest and recover. She can come for a proper visit later in the year. My husband dropped me off at the hospital on Wednesday. It was meant to be surgery, then one night overnight at the hospital for observation. On Thursday, the doctor told me my labs were not where he'd like them to be, and I should stay another night for observation and new lab work in the morning. I called my husband and told him that I'd hopefully be home the next day, over the phone early afternoon. He did not visit on Thursday at all. On Friday, I was discharged and called my husband to tell him that I'd be ready in about an hour. It went straight to voicemail, and I figured he was probably in a meeting and I'd try again in a little bit. After calling a few times over the course of over an hour, I called my sister, who was lucky enough to be excused from work for the afternoon. Many thanks to her understanding boss. She drove 90 minutes to get me and took me home, and the house was in shambles. Laundry baskets on the dining room table, the litter box not cleaned since Wednesday morning, days of dirty plates in the sink, etc. I just broke down crying. She packed me a bag and took me to her apartment to recover for 2 weeks. On Friday night, my husband called me asking me where I was, and that the hospital said I was already discharged. He had been on a hike with his mother, and there was no cell phone service, so he missed my calls, which also meant he took PTO for his mom's visit again. Obviously, I can't ban him from taking PTO, but wouldn't you rather spend that freed up time with your wife at the hospital instead of on a date with your mom? I told him that I no longer feel comfortable recovering in our house, and I won't be returning until it's thoroughly cleaned and his mother is gone. He's calling me the a-hole because his mother just wanted to get to know our new area, and I wasn't able to leave the hospital anyway, and that I was making a big deal out of this. I yelled that he essentially abandoned me at the hospital and entertained someone whose reason of being here was to help make recovery easier, not more stressful, and that she was here for support, not on a vacation. Maybe it's just the pain and pain meds, but am I in the wrong here? Is this a stupid hill to die on? There's a part of me telling me to see a divorce lawyer just to see what my options are, because I'm not sure this will ever change. I know this is going to sound incredibly selfish, but I want kids, but I now don't see myself having any with my husband in the foreseeable future. And if this isn't going to work out, I don't want to spend the next 5 years wasting time and money on therapy and missing a chance to find someone I actually can start a family with. Someone who can be a committed father and husband before he's a son. Many thanks to anyone who's read all of this. Now for the top comments before reading the update a month later. Not the a-hole. Mommy's boy couldn't even be bothered to visit you in the hospital? This is definitely the hill to die on. Cut your losses and leave him to his mommy. Exactly. Didn't visit, and then went out of contact when there had already been a complication. What was his plan if those labs that needed to be watched had turned to needing to contact next of kin? He kept saying it was a simple procedure and there wouldn't be any emergencies. It was a simple but invasive surgery. It's not like I had a mole removed. Your husband dropped you off? Not the a-hole. My mother had 95 surgeries in her lifetime. My dad was at the hospital for all 95 of them. Stay at your sister's house and have her get your stuff. This is the mountain to die on. Now for the update. Hi all, I posted a month ago about my husband basically abandoning me at the hospital to entertain his visiting mother. I thought I'd post an update. We're done. I'm still at my sister's place, and my boss is letting me work remotely due to the commute. But I have an apartment I'm moving into in July. That's a 10-minute drive from my job. Thank you to everyone who responded. It was a bit overwhelming. I went into defensive mode and thought I had put my husband in a bad light, but you all really slapped the rose-colored glasses off me. We spoke on the phone every day the first week I was away. He asked his mother to leave ASAP so I would feel comfortable coming back home. After a week, I told him I still needed space and that I was coming the next day to grab more things. Once he saw that I had an empty bag and my sister brought 2 empty pieces of luggage, he realized I was taking a lot because I wasn't planning to come back soon. He asked to talk, and I figured we should get it done and over with. I told him we needed to separate. He tried to argue that his mother only visits a few weeks out of the year and that things are great otherwise. I told him that the issue is he expects me to be okay during those weeks with him ignoring my feelings to cater to hers. I said things don't magically go back to normal once she leaves. There's resentment towards him for weeks for doing it again, and self-hatred for me allowing it to happen again. He has to go back to couples therapy. I told him it didn't work last time. We had a great therapist who helped him put boundaries in place and be able to deliver consequences when his mother overreached. But as soon as she'd arrive, she'd break one boundary, he'd let it pass, and then she had carte blanche to stomp on them all. And when I tried to reinforce them, I'd get no support and I'd be the bad guy. Here's where I may have been a bit mean. I told him I'm turning 30 this year and I want to start a family. But I can't see starting one with him. If he can't put me first when I'm just out of surgery, why would I think he'd put our children first? I reminded him that his mother is retiring in less than 10 years. What happens when she decides she's frail and lonely? I asked him if he'd move her in whether I was okay with it or not. He replied, "I'm all she has." It really hit me then. This was not the life I thought we were building together. It was not the life I wanted or could settle for. He asked if he was really that bad of a husband. I sorta lied and said, "No, but you're just not the husband I need." I told him he either needs a wife who's okay with being the side piece in his relationship with his mother, or no wife at all. I left with my sister, and 10 minutes into the ride back to her place, his mother called me. I sent it to voicemail. I started laughing, and my sister asked what was so funny. I said the first thing he did was call his mommy and tattle on me for leaving. Papers have been served, and it's been pretty amicable so far. Fingers crossed. Good for you for standing up for yourself. Thank you. It was a long time coming. I pity him a little. She has put her claws into him so deep that he'll never be able to live his own life and form meaningful relationships with people other than her. Good for you to realize what that would mean for your marriage and walking away. I kind of pity him too. I don't think he'll ever have a healthy relationship with any woman in his life. If he ever asks again whether he was really that bad of a husband, please don't sugarcoat it. Be honest, even if it's brutal. You owe it to yourself to stop carrying the emotional weight of his actions. Let him sit with the truth. He won't grow from kindness that shields him from accountability, and you won't heal by bottling up everything he made you endure. Tell him exactly what it felt like to be treated as second place to his mother. Don't protect his ego at the expense of your peace. Free yourself. Let it all out. Next story. My father-in-law called my parents and said to leave my wife and I alone for a while. So my wife and I had a baby about a year ago, so it's been some time, I know. My wife wanted her family over all the time at the beginning, which was fine, but I felt like things were not as fair and balanced as I'd like. Her family was over every single day the first week that the little one was born. My family? They weren't allowed, said my wife. She needed time with her family first and not strangers. Which obviously hurt because strangers? Really? So fast forward, and my parents were bringing us dinners the second week. A couple of times my dad showed up unannounced because he wanted to bring by some things he thought would be helpful. Mind you, this is literally 2 times max when I'd get home after work the previous week and be greeted by my wife and her entire family. With this, my wife told her dad she felt overwhelmed, and her dad called my dad and said they, my family, needed to give us space. After hearing about this, I absolutely lost it on my wife. By that point, the balance between family was non-existent, and anytime I tried to have a say, I was told, "You don't know what it's like, you didn't give birth." Which, of course, while true, that's discounting my say for my newborn, whom I have a right to just as much as she does, and discounting my say for a house that I, no roast, paid for. Now before anyone says, I'd be interested to hear her side, or, yes, you are the a-hole because after marriage, it's teamwork. Let me just cut past that by the fact that it's been a year since I brought this up. The reason I'm bringing it up now is I feel gaslit and blamed a lot in my marriage, and I'm only seeing it now because we literally see her family like 10 times a week, multiple times a day sometimes. We see my family 2 times a month, max. So I'm feeling anger, frustration, and a loss of balance and control that I thought we had. When I brought this to her attention, she said, "I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't need to be 50-50. What, every time we go see my family, we have to see yours too? No, that doesn't work for me." Any pushback I give, she says I'm choosing my family over her. So only now am I seeing this as a real problem. Or am I the a-hole here, and I'm thinking too deeply into these things? Or is this a controlling relationship, and this needs to stop now? Help, please. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I would suggest marriage counseling. She's too enmeshed with her family right now. If things don't change, will you stay in this marriage? In-laws can ruin a good marriage. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. You're right, but you're missing the point. This isn't an in-laws thing. This is a wife and mother thing. She is setting the tone for this whole issue, and she is deliberately working and downplaying her husband here. Tell her that she can either make an effort for it to be closer to 50-50 now, or you can make it 50-50 custody. Then your child will see your family during your half of the time. If I had my husband's family in my home every day, I would have to get a divorce. Not the a-hole. If your wife won't do anything, then you need to. Tell her parents that you're feeling like you have no privacy with them over all the time, and you'd appreciate it if they limited their visits to once or twice a week. This will make you the bad guy, but your having no say in your own relationship is horse crap, as is your wife's attitude about it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for lying about where I was going to college so my stepsister wouldn't follow me? My mom married her husband Mike when I, 18 female, was 9. Mike had a daughter called Charlotte, who's the same age as me. My mom loved having another girl, and Charlotte never had a mom in her life, so the two of them bonded super fast, and mom was excited to have almost twins, which is what mom used to call us. Charlotte acts younger than she is, always has. She gets attached and wants to be with someone 24/7 and followed me around the whole time like she was a much younger sibling. She'd do the same with mom too. Mom loved it and would encourage it, and she forced me to put up with it. She scolded me regularly when I didn't want to spend time with Charlotte or when I was short with her. Mom told me Charlotte was my sister now, and I should embrace having someone who loved and wanted me around so badly. I tried to explain to my mom that having Charlotte follow me around and be forced on me 24/7 was making me dislike her and not want to give her a chance. But my mom told me that was a child's way of thinking about it, and 9-year-olds are big girls. Then when I tried to talk to mom about it at 12, she told me I was old enough to be mature and loving, and to know the true meaning of family is to love and appreciate those who treat us well, and Charlotte adored me and would do anything for me. I said that wasn't true, because she would not leave me alone. Mom hated that I wanted that. We fought a lot when I was 14 to 16, and then I learned to stop speaking to mom. What sucked most was I could talk to extended family and ask for them to try and talk to mom, but it didn't work. And my dad's gone, so I didn't have another parent to run to. I knew when I was 15 that my mom and Charlotte wanted us to attend college together, and they were planning to have us go to the same school. I tried to get Charlotte to understand that we needed the separation, and we shouldn't base our schools on each other, but she was set on following me. My mom didn't support me either, and she made it a big deal that I wanted distance from Charlotte. So when college talk was happening more seriously, I lied about where I was applying to. I made sure all the schools I mentioned to mom and Charlotte were pretty far from where I was actually planning to go. Charlotte accepted where she and mom thought I accepted, but it wasn't. Before graduation, I moved into my paternal aunt's house to avoid the backlash that I knew would come. Now the truth is out there, and Charlotte's decided she's not going to college at all. My mom is furious, and she tried to shame me for the stunt of tearing our family apart. She told me I had a lot of making up to do, and I told her in reply that I don't regret my decision. I said my only regret is that I was forced to lie. Mom said nobody forced me to lie, and I said they did, by giving me no choice but to accept Charlotte following me. I told mom I knew either she or Charlotte would have sabotaged me if I openly applied to a school Charlotte couldn't attend. Mom told me I wasn't thinking of what was best for Charlotte, and as an afterthought, she said for me. I told her the best thing for Charlotte is no concern of mine. Mom said that wasn't kind and I should be kind. Mom asked my maternal aunt, as in her sister, to talk to me. My aunt did, and she told me she understood why I did what I did, but I should apologize and at least regret lying a little, because I interrupted Charlotte's plans with my actions. I told her I did not want to be in the same college as Charlotte, and I didn't want to be in the same state as her. My aunt said it was extreme to feel so strongly about it, instead of keeping my distance at college. She told me I lied so easily, and could have handled it in a far more mature way. She said communication is key. I asked her what good communication was when my mom willingly ignores my communication attempts. Mom was furious when my aunt told her everything I said. I feel like while lying isn't ideal or a first choice people should use, I feel like I was left with no other choice. Maybe I'm too close to judge this though, so I'm asking, am I the a-hole? Mom did Charlotte no favors by coddling Charlotte's neediness and codependency. Sadly, OP was right that since Mom refused to address the codependency and criticized any attempts at independence, that she had no choice but to lie about where to apply for college. Notably, the mom didn't deny OP saying someone would have sabotaged their college choices had they been open and honest. Aunt is naive that if OP and Charlotte attended college together, that OP could somehow keep her distance, occasional classes together, room together, and how dare OP not eat together and exclude her from activities. Exactly. It would be a never-ending issue. Charlotte would try to make sure we were roommates. She would make sure she followed me around and that I couldn't do too much without her. It would be suffocating, and I'd have to drop out.